If you look at full-size sedans, this particular segment has really been dying over the last couple of years, especially as Americans continue to buy crossovers left and right. However, as long as I can remember, a full-size sedan has always been a part of the Buick lineup, so that didn't stop the company from introducing an all-new LaCrosse back in 2017. So this week, they sent me over the latest version of the LaCrosse, this one bearing an all-new trim. This is the LaCrosse Avenir. This is the new top-of-the-stack trim level. So if you guys are actually in the market for a new full-size sedan, is this new Buick worth a look? That's what we're here to find out. So typically in this segment, stylish vehicles is not usually part of the equation. However, things have really been changing over the years, especially for sedans, as buyers really demand something a lot more sleek. And when this generation came out in 2017, Buick did a really good job with the design. I see a lot of Mercedes CLA influence here on the front end. And I also really like some of the changes that Buick has made for this particular trim with the Avenir trim level, this one being the top of the stack. You can see the biggest change is the grille differentiation. You have this kind of mesh finish with this ice black metallic, finish on the actual grille. It looks pretty attractive. Combine that with the LED signature running lights, the bi-xenon headlights, you have an LED turn signal, and then you have halogen fog lights at the bottom. Bi-xenons are actually standard on every trim of the LaCrosse, which is kind of a little bit old school. I'm surprised Buick hasn't actually gone to like a full LED headlight, but the bi-xenons are still better than actual halogens. Now, this is the biggest sedan that Buick makes. It competes with vehicles like the Toyota Avalon, the Lexus ES350, the Nissan Maxima, and maybe even the Chrysler 300. The Avenir trim comes with its own unique set of wheels. These are kind of a graphite polish finish, 19-inch wheel. You can also spec up a 20-inch wheel on 245 series tires if you guys get like a sport chassis tuning package, which actually looks pretty good. One thing that Buick has always done are these kind of fake porthole vents. Usually they have it on the hood. I'm glad to see it's not on the hood, but it's now on the fenders. I don't really like that. But this car is pretty large. It's about 114-inch wheelbase and about 197.5 inches long. It's about an inch and a half longer than the all-new Toyota Avalon and Lexus ES350 that I actually just showed you guys. Now, the Avenir also comes standard with a panoramic sunroof. That's a nice feature. And really the only badge on this car is on the side on the door there where it says Avenir. So I'm surprised Buick hasn't put any more badges on this car. This has nothing to do with that stunning Avenir concept that we saw a couple years ago. Now, at the rear of the LaCrosse, this is kind of my least favorite attribute of this car. It just looks very much kind of like older person car. I just don't like the styling with the chrome eyelids. The taillights aren't even full LEDs, they're kind of an LED combination. And then if you want to open up the trunk, I do like how Buick has hid the release on the bottom of the Buick badge. The trunk itself is a little bit on the smaller side. It's measuring around 15 cubic feet of space, which is decent. The seats fold down 60-40. This is about a cubic foot less than what you get in the Avalon or the Lexus. And then thankfully Buick still gives you a temporary spare tire, so you don't have to deal with a fix-a-fly kit. So like every other GM or Buick product, it does come with the company's latest smart key access system with push-button start. This one also has remote start, which is definitely a nice feature. GM tends to be very good at including that. So if you want to activate the remote start, just push the lock button once, push and hold this button here until the vehicle starts right up for you. If you want to shut it off, just push and hold this button here until the vehicle shuts off for you. Now, just like every other vehicle with intelligent access key, when you approach the Avenir, you can see there's a button here on the door handle. Just touch that button here, it locks the doors. If you want to unlock it, there's no sensor on the back of the handle. You have to touch the button again, and that will unlock the door for you. Now, my tester has the chestnut brown leather interior. You can see it's very nice looking at initial glance. I really like the combination that this one gives you with the slate gray exterior with this brown interior with the black accent, the two-tone. It looks pretty nice. I like the Avenir embroidered into the seat back, which is also pretty nice. The seats themselves, they're heated and cooled, and they're like a 12-way power adjustable, and they're also massaging. Although I will say the massage function, all it does is it basically expands and contracts the lumbar, which I found to be completely uncomfortable. So I never used the massage function. Try the seats out and the massage function to see if you actually like it. I've tried better massage functions in much more expensive cars, for sure. Now, getting into the interior of the LaCrosse Avenir, you can see it's a traditional sedan, so you have a pretty easy step in height. When you shut the door, it sounds pretty solid when you shut, so that's definitely good. Now, if you want to start the vehicle up like everything else, put your foot on the brake and then push this square-shaped button here to start the vehicle up. Now this one being a high trim gives you a full LCD display in the center with an analog to the left and the right. It's kind of a combination. We've seen this display before in other Buick products and other GM products, so I wish that Buick kind of gave this car a more unique display to show off that this is kind of the new high trim level. Now the rest of the interior also hasn't really changed really from the last LaCrosse that I showed you guys. You still have kind of this faux stitching area here on this upper part of the dash. It's all soft touch here, which is definitely nice. You have some plastic trim here. You have some faux wood grain, which honestly looks fake to me, although it does contrast nicely, I guess, with the brown interior. On the door panels here, you can see you have more of that stitching on the upper portion. You have some aluminum trim with more of that fake wood. Buick gives you a 2-person memory function and then automatic up-down front windows, which is nice, although I kind of wish that Buick had made the back windows also full automatic. They're only automatic down. Right here you have a nice little area where you can put your phone. It's nice and padded right there. A little bit more storage. It's all hard touch plastic down here. Now the steering wheel, I don't love the design of the steering wheel. I think it looks rather ugly, although this is nice if you guys like to rest your hand right here while you're driving. You do have a heated wheel function, the button's right there. You have your controls for your adaptive cruise control, your information settings where you can change, you know, what's displayed here in this instrument panel display, which is all definitely nice. It's what you kind of expect. I just kind of wish that, again, the gauge display was a little bit more unique to this car, considering it's the Avenir LaCrosse, the fully loaded version. Now, over here in the center stack, you have the latest version of the Buick IntelliLink infotainment system. It's an 8-inch display. When you go to the home screen here, you can see all your different usual sources here. This car does have Apple CarPlay and it does have Android Auto from the projection side. This one also has the embedded factory navigation, which is included on this trim. A lot of the other vehicle trims make you pay extra. You can see here's your usual interface. You can see all your presets are down here. It's relatively easy to use and it gets the job done. Now when you put the vehicle into reverse, Buick does just give you basically just a traditional backup camera. There's no 360 camera, which really surprised me. You do have trajectory, you have parking sensors in the back and in the front, so that's definitely nice. This car also has the ability to parallel park itself for you. When you put the vehicle into drive here, you can push this button and it'll look for a parallel parking spot on the left or the right, and then it'll park itself automatically. So that's nice. I just don't understand why it doesn't have a 360 camera. You might as well have given that, since you basically, you know, included that full-on version with the automatic parallel parking. Now down here you can see this is the shifter for the 9-speed automatic. It very much copies BMW in its overall design. I don't like how for reverse, you have to go to the left. Again, you have to push this little trigger button to move the gear shifter anywhere. So reverse is accessed by going all the way to the left right there, and then drive, you just kind of push on this and then pull all the way back. That goes to drive. Pull it again and goes to manual mode. Park is accessed from the P. I just got really used to the BMW system where you kind of just pushed all the way forward for reverse. I don't like the extra step, but GM was just trying to be different. Underneath here, you do have a nice area for your cup holders. It's covered by this like wood accented door. This right here is a wireless charging pad. It worked most of the times with my iPhone 10, although it didn't really fit too well with the case in it. I do like the additional storage you get down here with another power outlet over there. Your USB ports, which you have 2 of them, is in here. You have decent amount of storage, another power outlet, which is nice. Above you, this panoramic sunroof, it does come standard on this car, on this trim, which is definitely nice. It lets in a lot of light, which is good because this is a kind of a dark cabin. Again, as you can see here, it goes to the back. The seats themselves, I find them to be rather comfortable. Just I don't like the massage function because it just blows the lumbar in and out. I also found that the cooled seat function in this car, they don't really feel all that cold. It's about 98 degrees outside today, and I found that the seats didn't really cool all that well. You felt a little bit of air, but I've definitely tried better cooled seats. The glove compartment here you can see is decently sized. It's 2-tier storage, it's damped, it's lined with felt. Now overall, this interior to me doesn't scream like luxury, it screams premium. It definitely screams like nice, but I've definitely seen nicer interiors from the Avalon or the new Lexus ES350. So this is a big sedan, so you kind of expect the back seat to be very large, and the LaCrosse doesn't really disappoint in that regard. Getting back here, you can see this is where the front seat is. It's matching where I had the car seat to drive. It's a pretty good amount of space. I'm 5'7". The headroom is a little bit tighter than I realized though, because that panoramic sunroof is taking up space, but you can see here good legroom, good foot space. There is a hump here that impedes on the space for the middle passenger for the drive shaft if you guys go for all-wheel drive, but I mean overall it's definitely not bad. Folding this down, you do have a nice armrest with 2 cup holders. There's a little bit more storage under there, and then Buick also gives you 2 rear seat vents, a household power outlet, and a 12-volt. But a couple of things I am noticing this car is missing. No heated rear seats, and then no manual sunshades. There is a power one in the actual back window, however, but overall the back seat is definitely pretty nice. So underneath the hood of the latest LaCrosse, Buick actually offers two different engines. The base engine is like a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder with a mild hybrid system. I'm not too interested in that because this is a big sedan. That car makes like 194 horsepower. This is the engine that most people are going to get. It's standard on the Avenir. This is GM's 3.6 liter direct injection V6. It's their corporate motor. It makes 310 horsepower and 268 pound-feet of torque. Now LaCrosses are standard with front-wheel drive. This particular one's front-wheel drive. You can add all-wheel drive for a $2,000 option. And then for 2018, GM replaced the old 8-speed Aisin automatic with their in-house designed 9-speed transmission. So that's one of the biggest changes they made for 2018. And fuel economy, it's pretty decent. It's rated at 21 in the city, 30 on the highway on regular gas. If you guys go for all-wheel drive, it drops to like 29. If you guys go for the 4-cylinder hybrid, that gets up to 35 mpg on the highway. Now this car, being the front drive model, weighs around 3,700 pounds, so let's get out on the road and see how it performs. So as you guys know, full-size sedans definitely aren't the vehicle of choice for a lot of American buyers. The segment itself is just pretty much dying thanks to crossovers. So driving a large full-size American sedan like this is something that I actually don't get a chance to drive very often. And you know, driving the LaCrosse Avenir, you know, it's been a couple years since I've driven this car. I was at the media launch program 2 years ago. Buick sent me one for a week to test. And you know what? It's a very pleasant driving car. That's what I said about just the regular version. And this Avenir version is supposed to be the new high trim. Kind of think of it as the Denali version of, you know, GMC. This is Avenir to Buick. And you know what? Sitting in the driver's seat here, the seats are cooled. It does have a massage function. I have to say the overall impression that you get from this car is positive at first, but I found that the cooled seats don't work very well on this, you know, very hot 95-degree day. And the massage function literally just inflates and deflates the lumbar, which isn't really all that nice feeling, so I didn't even use it. But when you're cruising along the highway, this is where the LaCrosse is going to be driven most of the time. And this is a very pleasant driving sedan. This is one of the reasons why sedans still drive very nice. It has a very smooth ride quality. Now my Tester's missing like the adaptive variable suspension that you get with like a sport chassis package. But you know, in its standard mode here where it's kind of fixed, it also doesn't have a sport mode. It rides very smoothly. It's very quiet in here. Buick is very much known for their quiet tuning technology. Very little road, very little wind noise, very little engine noise. What you do, you know, here is your brain thinking, honestly, or your thoughts. It's just a very quiet experience in here. Now, compared to the Lexus ES, which is what I consider this car's, you know, main competition to be, the Lexus definitely feels sportier. It's like less soft. This car's steering, as you can see, is super numb. It just doesn't really translate much feedback. It's not a sporty car, even though for this generation, Buick reduced the weight by some 300 pounds, and you kind of notice it when you put your foot down, but oh my God, the 9-speed took forever to shift there. Wow. I could literally have counted to 2 almost to get to that, get to downshift. But this is a GM designed 9-speed automatic that replaces the old 8-speed. I'm not entirely sure. I'm convinced it was the better option. I mean, the 8-speed was fine, but this 9-speed definitely, I found that it tends to not want to give up its top gears unless you really prod the gas pedal and past that click point, which it has, which is nice. Now, visibility in this car is also decent. The front is okay. There is some pretty large pillars here. The mirrors are a little small in typical GM fashion. The view out of the back is a little bit bad because of the, you know, big D pillars back there, but this car has driver assistance like blind spot monitoring or cross traffic alert. This particular one has the driver confidence 2 package for $1,600 that gives you full speed range adaptive cruise control. It has lane keep assist, although it doesn't work very well. It waits till the very last minute to finally, like, you know, push you back into the lane. This is not like the Cadillac Super Cruise, but the engine itself has 310 horsepower, and it makes a pretty decent noise when you put your foot down. I mean, there's something lovely about a naturally aspirated V6. This is definitely no exception. Passing power is good. I'm pretty impressed with how quickly it gets up to speed. Now, my Tester, being the front drive model, doesn't actually have any torque steer. It just has a pretty good amount of wheel spin when you go off the line. I'll have to show you guys a quick clip of that in a second. But you know, there is an all-wheel drive version available that adds, you know, some 200 pounds of weight. Unless you really need the all-weather traction, it's just not really necessary. You don't really need to go for the all-wheel drive model. The front-wheel drive model will be, you know, pretty good for most people. But let me take this off right here and see how it does. This is a big American, you know, full-size sedan, and it the suspension's nice and soft. It's all squishy feeling when you start going around corners here. So this is not a car that's going to remind you that Buick is a younger brand again. This car definitely feels a lot like a traditional Buick, kind of like an old person car, especially when you start tracking some corners. But yeah, I mean, the V6 has really good power. I just don't think I could ever, recommend this car with the 4-cylinder hybrid system. It would just be too sluggish for me. I definitely would, have to go with the V6. The Lexus ES350 definitely feels quicker than this car. And really it comes down to, I guess, the transmission tuning, and the Lexus maybe is a tad lighter than this. But really the Lexus just had a lot more of a smoother feeling, sportier feeling chassis than this car. A little bit of wheel spin there. But yeah, I mean, it feels like it gets to 60 in around 7 seconds, which isn't bad. But you don't buy a Buick like this to go drag racing. This is actually the same powertrain that I tested in the Regal GS, which I liked in that car because it was a lighter car, but it just didn't kind of have, again, that sportiness that I was looking for. This is very well matched to this big car and its mission. But Avenir is... The Avenir badge in this car, to me, it's just another high trim. It's not like a sportier trim. It's not really all that more luxurious feeling in here. Actually, this particular one has like the leather that's kind of coming off on the steering wheel, which I didn't even notice until I got into the test drive of this car, which is a little disappointing. But I mean, other than that, it's a comfortable car that has a lot of room in the back seat. The trunk is decent, but I'm just questioning whether people are buying cars like this, and if you are, it's really hard to overlook, the new competition like the new Lexus ES that I just drove. Now, how about the fuel economy? Well, Buick rates this car, I believe at like 2130, and I've been averaging around 22 miles per gallon in my weeks worth of testing, mostly city. Now on the highway, this thing was getting 36 miles per gallon, which is like 6 mpg better than the actual EPA rating, which is great. But if you guys just plan to drive this on the highway and it'll get great gas mileage in the city, it's a little bit more thirsty than that, which doesn't really surprise me. Vehicles like this tend to not do typically well in the city environment. So when I first tested the all-new LaCrosse a couple of years ago, I was pretty impressed with the overall package. This is a pretty refined, luxurious, roomy feeling vehicle that will probably make a lot of buyers who are looking for a full-size sedan pretty happy. Now, as you guys also know, Buick has been working hard to try to shed their stodgy old person car image, and unfortunately, this is probably the car that still embodies their traditional heritage. Even though it's one of the better looking full-size sedans in America, just spending a week with this car kind of reminds me that this is a car that I personally wouldn't buy in my late 20s, but I probably would find a lot of people who are in their 50s that would really find this thing to be very pleasant. So what's it going to cost to put an all-new LaCrosse in your driveway if you guys are actually looking to buy one of these? Well, it's still relatively affordable. Now, Buick says the competition for this car is kind of like a Toyota Avalon, Nissan Maxima, or a Lexus ES350. This car is cheaper than all those cars. It starts at around just under $30,000, like $29,900 for the hybrid model, the hybrid 4-cylinder. From there on, you can kind of it'll go up in about $3,000 increments all the way up to this Avenir trim, which starts at around $44,000. Add $2,000 if you guys want the all-wheel drive system. This particular one is priced relatively low. It only has the $1,700 driver confidence package 2 and being a front-wheel drive model. So as tested, this one being around $47,000 is relatively reasonable, if slightly pricey. Keep in mind, if you guys add everything, like the sport package this one's missing and the all-wheel drive system, this car can be easily over $50,000, which is a little too much money for me for a Buick. But again, there are still a lot of strengths with this car if you guys can kind of get past the stodgy Buick name brand, and if you're actually one of the few people who are looking to buy a full-size sedan. But I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2018 Buick LaCrosse Avenir. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.